Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's a very exciting and happy occasion that we're here today to talk about, and that is the passage yesterday of a resolution that calls for a comprehensive update of the 2007 Austin Climate Protection Plan. The resolution we passed today sets a long-term goal of achieving a net zero community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, or earlier if feasible. So that resolution sets in motion a stakeholder process to work with city staff to establish action plans for the three major sectors that produce the majority of emissions in our community: energy, transportation, and waste and industry. What we've seen in other cities since the time that we passed our 2007 plan is that cities are getting out there setting very ambitious and aggressive goals that even go beyond what we did in 2007. And that includes interim goals that set specific metrics to keep an eye on as we march forward in our efforts to achieve meaningful climate protection. For instance, we have cities like Seattle who are getting out there and setting a comprehensive goal for the whole city to get their carbon footprint down. And they set very significant interim targets. For instance, they plan to reduce their vehicle miles traveled by 20% by 2030. That's the kind of targets that we need to be talking about here in Austin, and so that we can see if we can do even better. Over the past 7 years, the City Council has adopted multiple policies like the Zero Waste Master Plan, the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan, and work is underway on a climate resiliency plan that put broad policies and plans in place. But so far, we haven't done the legwork to consolidate all these plans and establish the appropriate short and long-term actions that are needed for our community, and this process that's now underway can get us there. And a process like this doesn't just happen by City Council decree. The reason that a process like this can work in Austin and is absolutely imperative for Austin is because we have the kind of community that includes broad support for all of these goals. And that means not just the City Council and not just the city staff, as important as those things are, but a whole range of private groups that are out there looking out for the public interest as we talk about all these goals. And I just want to acknowledge the contributions of those who have participated in this effort, starting with my own colleagues on the City Council. The resolution yesterday passed with broad support. It included the support of Mayor Pro Tem Cole, who is a co-sponsor, Bill Spellman, another co-sponsor, Mike Martinez, and most of the rest of the council as well. We also had broad involvement of city staff, including, most importantly, our Chief Sustainability Officer, Lucia Athens, as well as representatives from the various departments that were involved, like in particular Austin Energy. And equally important, we had, as we developed this resolution, we were working collaboratively with groups who have been keeping an eye on climate protection and letting us know about the science as it evolves, and helping us figure out exactly what we need to do in terms of getting to the point of setting significant targets. And I just want to note a few of those groups that have been involved in this effort, many of which are represented here. We had groups that included the Sierra Club, Environment Texas, Climate Buddies, the Austin Eco Network, Public Citizen, Adaptation International, and many others who have been involved in this effort. Austin is the kind of place where we take the environment seriously, and we have many groups that are dedicated to it. And so it's not just the City Council setting these goals, it is through active participation of all the folks standing behind me and the folks that they work with that are going to get us, that are going to move us down the road towards achieving these goals. And with that, I want to go ahead and introduce our Mayor Pro Tem to say a few words about exactly what kind of process we expect to see from here.
Oh, I'll use that. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for the support. It is a great day for Austin as we make a further commitment to our environment with climate protection. When I first came on council in 2006, there was excitement about doing more for climate protection, but a realization that throughout the country, enough was not being done. And in 2007, under Mayor Wynn's leadership, when we adopted our climate protection plan, we were looked at around the world for making that major commitment. Well, a lot has changed over 7 years. We have legitimate bragging rights. We have made a lot of progress. However, most of the 2007 goals were related to the city of Austin and our generation mix. This resolution is broader. It looks at making differences in the community as general. We've seen other cities like Charlotte and Seattle and Chicago make major changes in their climate protection, and we looked at them as we crafted this resolution. I guess I should say Councilmember Riley's aide Lewis looked at them as we crafted the resolution. But this process will allow us to get a full understanding of what our needs are to accomplish our goals. Next, I will ask for Joop Meijer to come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, very excited to be here. A few months ago, we at Climate Buddies started to meet with City Council members to discuss the need for a renewed commitment to leadership in dealing with climate change. And we had a great reception from almost all council members, and I'm glad that Chris Riley, Bill Spellman, and Sharon Cole stepped up to draft and sponsor the resolution that got approved yesterday. The resolution calls for a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions that put Austin on a path that science tells us where we need to be. The International Panel on Climate Change has concluded that climate change is happening, that we are starting to feel the impacts, and that projections going forward are on a path that is disastrous on a global scale, threatening large parts of human society, mostly the poor and nature. You all remember the summer of 2011 here in Texas. That will be normal by 2050 if we don't do anything, and I do not want that. The scenarios that are likely to help us to avert most impacts are asking for a return to greenhouse gases in the atmosphere to lower us to levels that are lower than today. So we need to reduce our emissions drastically. The science also tells us that greenhouse gases tend to stay in the atmosphere for quite some time. We're talking hundreds of years. We are still seeing the carbon dioxide that our founding fathers put in the air using their fireplaces. And our grandchildren, their grandchildren, will be dealing with our emissions from today. So we have the responsibility to start today, not tomorrow. We have to cut our emissions today and deliver more value than our cuts tomorrow. The cost of reducing emissions now is lower than the cost of making up for the damage that climate change will cause later. And a resolution is calling for just that. It also tells us that we need to be involved in making this a reality. We all need to be. It's me, it's you, it's your family, your church, your work, your government. We all need to contribute to climate change. So we work together to get to this mission of zero. Climate Buddies is working with households, house of worship to do just that. Our own Austin Energy will need to play an important role. We need to change our transportation, like Councilmember Riley said, from miles in the car using gas to electric vehicles, more bikes, more public transit, etc. This resolution touches on many policy-related items that relate to all the sectors that we've listed before. The city has already played an important role since the adoption of the 2007 Climate Protection Plan. Now we all need to play a role and be part of it. I'm very excited to see that what we're going to be doing going forward in the next couple of months is defining our framework, how to do this, the instruments, the approach, how to all get involved. With that, I'd like to introduce El Armendariz from the Sierra Club, who will speak about why it's important to act now.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Al Armendariz. I am the senior campaign representative from the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign here in Austin, Texas. And before I talk in detail about climate change, I do want to thank Councilman Riley and the other members of the Austin City Council. I think the action that they took yesterday shows true leadership, and I'm really happy at the results. So as it was said, climate change is upon us today. It's not something that only our kids and grandkids are going to be dealing with, and they certainly will, but it's something that's impacting Texas right now. We've been under a 3-year drought, and as a transplant from another dry part of the state, I grew up in El Paso. I think all of us know that whether it's West Texas, Central Texas, South Texas, water is incredibly important for our rapidly growing cities, for our industry, and our economy. We can't have the Texas we have today if we don't have water. And what scientists are telling us is that the drought of the last 3 years and the heat that we've been experiencing that comes along with it will be the new normal at the end of our lifetimes, and that will be the Texas that our kids and our grandkids will inherit. Unless we take action. And the resolution that passed yesterday is a fantastic step forward for the city of Austin There are very few cities in the United States that have made community-wide commitments. But Austin did that yesterday. It set a long-term requirement that Austin's going to be carbon zero by 2050, and that also that we're going to have interim benchmarks along the way to gradually reduce our emissions. Now, along that way, there's going to be some challenges, but there's also some low-hanging fruit. Some of that low-hanging fruit, things that we can do over the near term, relate to how we produce our electricity. This city is still dependent on an old 1970s era coal-fired power plant for a lot of its electricity. But today what we're seeing is that wind and solar is just as affordable as fossil fuel power. And so we need to move off of dirty fossil fuels as quickly as we can. We're also seeing now a gradual rollout in electric vehicles. And it's up to our cities, our schools, our churches, our businesses, our shopping centers to provide the infrastructure so that people can buy electric vehicles and use electricity, clean electricity that comes from renewables to move around Austin rather than being so reliant on fossil fuels. So I want to again congratulate the City Council. I think it's a fantastic step forward. It's absolutely critical that Austin show leadership, and I think we did that yesterday. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to
Chris.
To Councilman Riley.
Thanks, Al. So to sum up, the Austin City Council has got the message loud and clear from the Austin community, including the groups that are standing with me here today. Climate change is a real issue, it is upon us, and we expect Austin to maintain its leadership role in stepping up and addressing the problem of climate change. We value a healthy community. We need to do more to ensure adequate climate protection. We're excited now to have a new policy direction in place. We hope that everyone in the community will get involved as this process gets underway in the coming weeks. Thank you all so much for being here. Thanks so much to all of y'all who have been a part of this important effort, and we're all available for further questions.
Does anyone want to venture any short-term targets, things you're looking for in the immediate future?
Well, we just had a press conference outside where we talked about moving forward with solar. I think that what you saw the last couple of weeks when the council unanimously approved a purchase power agreement for 150 megawatts of solar at and just below 5 cents. Purchase vehicles as a city moving forward. Why not purchase vehicles that are much cleaner than fossil fuel vehicles? Those are the kinds of conversations we're going to have. I want to thank the council members for their leadership. As the original co-sponsor of the Climate Protection Plan, back in 2007, we were saying, guess what? We value this so much that we're willing to pay more for it, and we did. But here we are, just a few short years later, it's making money now. We're generating jobs. We're creating a green economy, and the price has dropped so low that it's now competitive across the board with every other source of fuel. So it's through their leadership that we're able to be here to do this today. So thank you all.
Okay. All right. So why don't we can just take individual questions from y'all from here on. That's okay. 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 Thank y'all so much. Thanks.